Hey, welcome to the channel. So today I'm going to be doing some fairly simple but very meaningful upgrades to the camper, and I'm really excited because I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. So one of the primary reasons that I bought a truck and camper to begin with instead of a motorhome or a van was so that I'd have a full utility of a pickup truck when I'm not camping. But the reality is the camper stays attached to the truck most of the time. And that's because the whole process of taking it out, putting it away, and putting it back into the truck for the next trip is a rather time-consuming and painful process. But today I'm going to be addressing two of the primary pain points. Now, one of those pain points is the turnbuckles. Now, these are the original turnbuckles I bought when I got the camper. They're fairly common. You've probably seen them before. And these have a spring inside, which acts as sort of a suspension system. And that spring has to be tensioned every time you go to install these. Now, I put a piece of tape here on the shaft, as you can see, and the idea is I want to get a 1/4 inch gap between that tape and the body of the turnbuckle to set the tension. Now, once you get some tension on these, then you'll need a wrench to tighten them up the rest of the way. And that's especially true if they've rusted up inside like mine have. And once you get your tension set, then you can screw down this lock nut. And again, you'll need a wrench to tighten that. And then removal is just the reverse of installation, which again is going to require a lot of cranking on this thing and takes quite a lot of time. So on the back, the rear turnbuckle is directly attached to the rear bumper, and it acts as sort of its own suspension system, so there's no spring inside the rear turnbuckles, luckily. But as you can imagine, there's still quite a bit of turning involved, and again, you need a wrench to do this, generally. Okay, so now we get to the real pain point, and that's these standard Rieco Titan mechanical lift jacks that come with a lot of campers. Now, my truck sets up pretty tall, which means that the camper jacks pretty well have to be fully extended in order to get the camper into the truck. When I take the camper off the truck for storage, I usually compress the jacks all the way down just to help with stability. And let me tell you, that's an awful lot of mechanical cranking. Also, you have to go from jack to jack and lift or lower each jack individually just by a few inches each time. Now, buying a hand crank for each of the jacks will save you a little bit of time by not having to connect and disconnect the socket every time. But they do also sell a drill bit adapter for these jacks, and this will speed things up a bit and save on your arms. But I will say that doing this is really hard on the drill. In fact, last year I burned up a perfectly good drill doing this, and I found that a 20-volt drill with a brushless motor and a 2-speed transmission set to the lowest setting works pretty well, but it's still a very slow process. Okay, so let's get into the solution space. So these are Torklift lever action turnbuckles. Now these models happen to be for my bed mount setup here, but Torklift also makes turnbuckles for their frame mount systems as well. And I've actually had these for months now. I just haven't had an opportunity to show them on the channel. Torklift was kind enough to send me a set just to check out and see what I think. And my assessment is that they're awesome. I really love these, and they're going to save me a ton of time. To assemble the front turnbuckles, insert the threaded rod into the body, attach a square nut, a rubber grommet, and a lock nut. And I found it easier to use the lever to hold the lock nut in place while I turned the turnbuckle to tighten it. And then there's a plastic cap, and that'll help to keep water and debris out. And then this rubber O-ring slips onto the lower hook. Now the Torklift turnbuckles, they also have an internal spring that needs to be tensioned, but the whole setup is so much easier. They have this little O-ring here that acts as sort of an adjustable reference point, and when you pull the lever down, put tension on it, you need a 1/4 inch gap between the O-ring and the body of the turnbuckle. And to adjust that tension, you can just pull the lever back up, screw this hook in or out as needed to get the right tension, and you're pretty much done. You don't have to readjust that every time you install the turnbuckles. You'll only need to readjust it if the camper is moved or something else has changed in your setup. Otherwise, you can just take this off and put it back on, and the correct tension remains. Now they also give you a pin so that you can lock down the lever so it can't come open when you're bouncing down the road, or you can replace that with a lock so it doesn't get stolen. And again, to take this off, you just pull up on the lever, and that's it. So the fact that this has a lever action, you don't have to readjust the tension every single time, and the fact that it's a toolless install really saves a lot of time. For the rears, I needed to cut the rod to length and filed it down to remove any burrs, and just attach the rods and nuts. Now once again, for this setup, the rear turnbuckles do not have an internal spring. All you really need to do is set the appropriate length, and because you can adjust these when they're not under tension, that's super easy to do. You don't need any tools to do that. Now you will need a wrench to tighten down this lock nut once you've got the right length, and then just like the fronts, it's a super easy process. Just close that lever and put your pin in, and you're done. Now these are made in the USA, and the quality appears to be well beyond the competition, at least from what I've seen. They're using nice thick aluminum for the body and stainless steel hardware. They even put some anti-seize on the threads, so I don't think these are going to be rusting up anytime soon like my old turnbuckles did. And they even had the forethought to put a little indicator here on the sticker that you can mark that references the corner of the camper where you took off the turnbuckle, so you can put it back again later, whether it's the driver's side or passenger side, front or rear. So I think this is a really well thought out and well executed design. Okay, so let's address the jacks. So this is a 2022 model year camper, which luckily means it has the newer style convertible jacks from Rieco Titan. Now you'll see I have 4 screws on the top of the jack here, and the older style jacks, they don't have those screws, and those are a lot more difficult to convert. But with these, I should be able just to take out these 4 screws, take out the mechanical head, and replace it with a nice new electric model from Rieco Titan. And this camper is already pre-wired for the electric heads, so it should be a pretty easy install. All right, and this is what it looks like inside of the jack. There's no grease to be found, and I see a bit of rust. So I'm going to try to spray some penetrating oil down there to get that rust out. And then I think I'll spray some lubrication. There's a little hole right down in there. I want to try to get some lubrication in there, and then I'll go ahead and grease this whole area. I don't know if this is the best solution, but this is what I have. It's garage door lube. I'm going to spray it down in the hole, and hopefully it'll get down into this mechanism here. And this is just some standard general purpose grease. Now the new electric heads, they ship with just a tiny bit of grease, just a small dab there. I don't think that's quite enough. There's also a gasket right here, a bit of a seal, and I'm going to go ahead and add some more grease down in here and lubricate that seal as well. Now there's a hole here. I'm not sure what that's for. Maybe it's just a drain hole. But anyway, let me go ahead and grease this up and I'll put it on. Okay, I got some of the rust cleaned out and lubricated the inside of the jack there. Put some grease in. Looks a lot better, and I've got my electric head all greased up now. So now I can go ahead and install the head. Okay, so to get this installed, I just need to line up the shaft with the socket. There we go, that was easy. And I don't think it matters which orientation you use. I don't want it sticking out from the camper so much. So I'm going to orient it in this way. And then all I need to do is tighten these set screws. Okay, so I have a little bit of a dielectric grease or bulb grease here. I'm going to add just a bit to the connector and to this connector. And then we'll just plug it in. So the bottom socket is for the jacks, the top socket is for the roof. So currently my remote is in roof mode, so if I want to be able to control the jacks, I need to hold this little select button in until that LED there changes color. Okay, should be in jack mode, so let's check this out. All right, looks like it works. Now I just need to do the same process for the other 3 corners. All right, well, we got a bit of rain, but I'm still able to install all 4 of the new jack heads, as you can see, and it's hard to believe how easy it was. It only took me maybe 5 or 6 minutes per jack to do the install, and being able to push a single button and operate all 4 jacks simultaneously makes a huge difference. And I'm sure that that also puts less stress on the camper versus raising each corner at a time. And I'm still able to operate each jack individually. So I wanted to get an estimate of how much time I might be saving unloading and loading the camper with the new hardware versus the old hardware. So before I took off the old hardware, I timed myself, removing the old turnbuckles, lifting the camper up out of the truck bed, putting it back down into the truck bed, and then reinstalling the turnbuckles. And then I repeated the process with the new hardware so I could compare the times. So with the old turnbuckles and using drills with the mechanical jacks, the load and unload process took almost 40 minutes. And with the new Torklift turnbuckles and the electric jack heads, the same process only took 6.5 minutes. So that was a big difference. Now, I didn't time myself going through the full height range of those jacks, but I recall from experience going all the way up and all the way down that used to take the better part of an afternoon. And now I'm pretty sure I could do it in minutes. No, it's kind of hard to convey just how much easier this process is now, especially when considering how little time I actually spent on the upgrade itself. Now, this is not a cheap upgrade, but I think that getting my time and the use of my pickup truck back was worth the expense. Now, as great as these turnbuckles are, I have something sitting in my shop right now which might actually be better. And I also have an interesting upgrade for these jacks, which is going to improve the capability of the camper. But that's going to have to wait for the next video. So be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications, and we'll see you next time.